Welcome to Lifted, elevating the game. Assalamu alaikum, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of the Lifted podcast series in collaboration with Orlando Union, leading up to the Tournament of Champions. As you all know, we're 2 weeks away, and it seems like it came much faster than we all thought, and we're almost at the end of 2022. 3 interviews in, 2 more to go. I want to thank all the people who supported, who've watched, who've downloaded the podcast, watched on YouTube. Thank you for all your support. You don't know how much it means. I am getting all your messages, and I promise I will return them all. It is just so many people, I think, have been uplifted by this entire process. And in a way, it just shows that our message is getting across about positivity, love, passion, and playing this game like you're a kid, man. That's all. If you go back to it all, that's all that it's about. I did promise you guys some rules. I know the rules might have been out already, but I'll touch on a rule that I think that has. I'm not going to go over all the rules. I'll touch on one, and maybe next week I'll touch on another. But this rule, I think, is going to change the game. I think I mentioned it. I teased it a little bit a couple of weeks ago in my first podcast. But the rule where overtime is now being introduced. So whether you have the serve or not at the end of a rally, at the end of the game, if the score is 9-all, 10-all, 11-all, no matter who has the serve, that game's going to go to overtime. And that's a minute long. And that's a minute of which the team that ended with service will start with service. And if that's tied after a minute, it's going to go to double overtime. And if that's tied after a minute, it goes to sudden death. So I think it'll change the landscape of how games are played, how teams are strategized, the end of games, maybe how timeouts are used. So I think a lot of things will go into play when it comes to overtime. And I think it's a super cool idea. I know New York did a variation of this where it was one more sudden death rally, but this is actual time on the clock. So anything can happen in a minute. Anything can happen in 2 minutes. So yeah, that's it. I will get to my guest now. I like to call him the professional, Mr. Fayez Thawer of Toronto North Volleyball Club. Fayez, thank you so much for joining me. I call you Mr. Professional because that's exactly what you are on and off the court, and continues to be in the game, and you're such a positive vibe, and I want to thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Salman. It's a pleasure to be here. I wonder if that rule was in effect in New York, what would have happened to that semifinal?
That's a good point. I love that. I love the beginning. I told you guys last week, Fayez comes in, tells you how it is, wears his heart on his sleeve, and there's no filter, baby. So get ready. It's going to be a good ride. Fayez, let's start right off the bat. A lot of people don't know where your beginning of your career actually started. A lot of people think you're from Toronto. The actuality is you're from Ottawa. Can you tell me what your volleyball, the initial time or spot in your life that volleyball really entered your life, and how that journey started?
So, Salman, first off, I was born in Toronto. So everybody.
Okay, so you are from Toronto. Oh, you are from Toronto.
But, I've spent the majority of my life in Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
And volleyball was something that started as a Sunday morning thing.
Right.
To be honest, I was hitching a ride with my dad because after traditional, there were about 8 more hours of sports happening in that same gym.
Yeah.
And so it was just easier to go with him. And, prior to actually hitching a ride, I was kind of bribed. Like most of us, we were introduced to this game by our parents, our fathers, our uncles, extended family. And, we would get into one game right at the beginning.
Yeah.
If you made a mistake, you went to third right away. Remember, we were playing foul. We were playing fouls back then, right?
Oh, okay. So it's a different ballgame. Yeah.
I've been yelled at more in those games than ever on a traditional court playing in a tournament.
100%.
But my pop kept us going. Me and another couple of young ones. He would give us money after the first game, and we would run down the street, either to grab some fast food or an arcade or something. So, that's how it started. And as I got older, I got into the game a little bit more. And then I kind of realized the players I had around me. I grew up with the Charania brothers.
Okay.
And these were guys that owned the court back in Uganda. Umed, Naju, Mebub, Zinat. They were just amazing players. They were legends. And for some of the heads out there, they'll remember, especially Umedi, playing Eddie. and then center. So through the years, it just was sort of a hobby, a pastime for me. My real love, as you know, was international volleyball.
Yeah, international volleyball. Yep.
Yeah. And so, I started playing at a young age, competitively started playing international in grade 6, traveling regionals, eventually provincials, junior nationals.
Wow.
And then after I finished school, I moved full-time to the beach and playing two-man volleyball, playing at the provincial level there as well. And so traditional was sort of something I did on the side when it afforded, when I had the time. But when we used to travel for tournaments in the Ismaili community, I would watch traditional, but I'd be playing international. So, right. So I continued with international until I had knee surgery at 35.
Okay.
And my last tournament was actually in Chicago in 2014.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was the end of international.
Okay.
Traditional was, like I said, I played it growing up. Our Ottawa team, I guess, was slow to change, right? The three-touch, no-foul game. They were purists. We stuck with the no fouls for a number of years, which put us at a huge disadvantage. And I think that demotivated us from tournaments. Eventually, the torch was passed. Mubin, Al Nasir, the younger guys took over, and we started playing again. So I played in front of Mubin for a while in short center.
Okay.
So that was the original position I played in.
Okay.
And so, that's sort of how traditional took over in time.
So when does your initial start in traditional volleyball begin in terms of going to tournaments? What team are you going with? Are you going with Ottawa? Did you get it? Oh, you guys were going to tournaments?
Yeah. In the late 90s. I mean, that's when I was playing. These tournaments never coincided with my international schedule. So I was playing, and getting to know some of the teams in Toronto as I was going, right? So it was a lot of fun playing and really having nothing to lose, right? There was really not a lot of pressure.
Exactly.
So it was fun getting into it. But, over time we got better. Like, I don't have a lot of trophies, guys. Like I don't hold on to trophies. But one of the few that I've held on to was our first sort of piece of hardware with Ottawa.
Right. I'm sure.
Which was a consolation championship in 1999.
That's awesome.
That's where it all started. But playing with Ottawa was a lot of fun. Like, don't get me wrong. I still remember going to a tournament where we started spiking. Like midway through the tournament, our netty El Nasser would actually just lift the ball straight up, and either I would spike it or one of my teammates, Zaire, would spike it.
Right.
And that's how spiking was. After that tournament, it was banned.
It was banned, right?
It was banned, and it wasn't only because of us, but on the other side of the court was Abbas Kimji, right? So Abbas was spiking right back at us.
No ways.
Yeah. So like it was. We kind of imported a bit of international, and in retrospect, I mean, obviously at the time we had lots to say about them banning spiking, right?
Of course,
but
I'm sure.
Looking back, I think it did take away from the game. So spiking on a third ball, to me, it was a loophole, and I think it would have diluted the game if it wasn't.
I agree.
It wasn't taken.
I agree. I know of a tournament where Sajjad Kimji won. I believe it was 94-5. He won an entire tournament playing short center, spiking on third balls. And on the Isnashri side, they stopped that right after that tournament. How did you get your first gig where people started to notice who you were? Like, where was that time where, because mind you, I've never seen you play for anybody besides Ottawa. I mean, I've never seen you play for anybody besides North. And then one other time where it seems like was your initial start. So can you get into that for me? Because I want you to tell me the story.
Yeah, look, I think I arrived at a tournament in Vancouver.
Okay.
Playing short center. There were a lot of firsts for us at that tournament.
Okay.
Including beating at that time the best team in volleyball, Toronto East, right?
Yeah.
And we had beat them during that spiking tournament, but again, there was an asterisk on that because we were spiking, right? In the Vancouver tournament, we actually beat them playing three touch.
Right.
eventually to lose in the semis to Port Moody.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but again, that was sort of when we made a splash as a team. And that's when I was recognized at that tournament as an outstanding rookie.
Okay. And what year?
and so-
What year was that?
Oh, that was like early 2000s, man.
Okay.
I was in university at the time.
Okay.
And I remember it distinctly because at the time we had two major airlines in Canada. And the weekend we actually flew to Vancouver. One of them went out of business.
Oh,
Right. So anybody who remembers Canadian Airlines, Canada Air, we can find it. I can give you the day. But I'm guessing it was late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
That tournament, though, Selma, was also the first time I got to see someone really hitting the ball. Like my most distinct memory from that tournament was when we were playing Britannia in the round robin and we were warming up. And CD hit a ball.
Yeah.
And my hands weren't as tight as obviously they should have been.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've never told CD this, but I thought he broke one of my fingers. I really did. But,
man.
when that happened, it kind of added a bit of motivation to my game.
Of course.
And so that competitive spirit ramped up when I felt that.
Yeah.
And I realized how far I was from being
100%.
amongst the elite in traditional volleyball.
Yeah.
So that was sort of a coming out for me, but it was also a lot of self-realization in that.
Of course, yeah. And it's funny because I think all of us have a memory of CD and Tagaro, Marhum Tagaro, just like that. Just like that, where we get on the court and we're like, who are these guys? You hear their names, you hear about them, and then they hit you a ball and you're like, whoa, you're falling backwards returning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's funny though, growing up, the volleyball community, I don't think CD, and I hope he hears this and understands, and I wish I could tell Tagaro this as well, that there were kids that would replicate their games after those two guys, including Reblo, including all those guys. But I think CD and Tagaro were so different, but also dominant in their own ways. And it was like some kids liked the style of CD, right? Where aggressive, like wears his emotions on his sleeve, swagger on another level. And some people liked the cool, calm, collected. Tagaro swings every swing is the same, no matter where the lift is. And I think they played a huge factor in all of us when we were growing up.
Let me stop you here, someone. I think we're being way too nice to CD. Because there was also you had to be careful when CD was playing.
Yeah,
you had to make sure there were no objects around, especially chairs, right?
Chairs, yes.
You had to be careful.
Yes,
you had to be careful.
I remember that. I was there for that. So tell me about the first time you get recruited to play for somebody else. What was that like? How did that come about?
We're fast forwarding here because traditional really had fallen off my radar.
Yeah.
Ottawa wasn't really going to tournaments.
Right.
And so, I'd go practice with the guys.
Yeah.
Joke around, have a good time, and call it.
Yeah.
And then, our business grew into Toronto. Okay. I was visiting Toronto very often. Okay. And I ran into some old volleyball buddies, and I ended up playing some pickup whenever I was in town. Eventually, I got asked to play on a team for a tournament.
Okay.
And at the time, I'd already, Faisal and I were friends already. Okay. And I reached out and I said, look, what do you think? And he said, look, if you want to play, you need tournament experience.
Exactly.
And so I did play, and it was, I think outside of Toronto, not a lot of people know this, but it was actually with Tarab and United Stars.
Yeah, it's crazy that
and if you think about it, right, like a lot of great players today have come through that United Stars system.
Oh, 100%.
Right. 100%. And so I had the benefit of that system for that tournament. And it was fun, but it was different. It was just a level of intensity.
I'm sure. What position were you playing?
I was playing front left, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, it was front left.
And what was that conversation like with Tarab? Like he just approached you and was like, hey.
Well, I think Tarab was looking for a player. I think he heard that I was playing quite a bit.
Okay.
And he reached out and he said, look, I hear you're looking to play and we've got an opening. It was very cordial, right? Like we hadn't really spent a lot of time with one another.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was very cordial. So that's how it started. I mean, I think our styles and what we're used to was fundamentally different.
Yeah.
And I think there was a bit of that. You could see that on the court a little bit after the first couple of games.
Yeah.
And we stepped to the side. We had a conversation. And we were able to get back on the court with a mutual understanding, and the tournament really well. In fact, we upset Arcades in that tournament.
Yeah. What year was that, and how old were you at that time?
Oh, geez. I think that was like 2010.
Okay. So
yeah, and I was
so
I would have been 33 at the time.
Wow. So you're really starting to.
I was a rookie at 33.
Yeah, which is crazy because I'm 31 and I feel like I've been playing forever, and you're 33, which just shows that, I mean, you had a good prime when you were coming up with North, and you were playing at a high level. Obviously, a very athletic background. Obviously,
yeah, look, I was in great shape.
You were in good shape.
I think,
yeah, exactly.
I think that helped the whole thing, right?
Of course. When do you get your first gig with North? When does Fayez tell you, hey, bud, come join us?
Well, let me drop a dime on you guys. North actually was started by a guy by the name of Salim G.O.A.T. This is the way Salim Uncle tells the story.
Okay.
Salim Navroz G.O.A.T. starts this team, and at that time, the team name was Willowdale G.O.A.T.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. So the teams in Toronto were really named after the groups in G.O.A.T.
Yeah. Exactly.
So right off the bat, it was a community-based friends and family sort of group on the court.
Right.
So from Willowdale G.O.A.T. kind of volleyball to North, I mean, that's how North became North.
Right.
As far as my relationship with Fayez, look, our dads were friends for years. In fact, if you watch the old videos of North and East finals,
yeah.
My dad there, like he was there all the time. Him and Salim Uncle go back a long time. And so I knew Fayez through him. I mean, Fayez was like a young guy. And so whenever he would come to Ottawa and things like this, he'd stay with us and
right.
And so I kind of looked at him as sort of a younger cousin.
Exactly.
But our families didn't mix very much. Our dads had a relationship.
Yeah.
It wasn't until we were much older where Fayez would come down for university games.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I happened to be running it for the community.
Okay.
Because I mean, I wasn't playing anymore.
Exactly.
But between Fayez coming down and him and Ali were joint at the hip. So
right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course.
These two guys became my little brothers, basically.
Yeah.
And so after that tournament with Stars, finishing up in the playoffs, Ali and Fayez pulled me to the side.
Okay.
And that's where they had the conversation with me that, if you're open, there's an opportunity here for you to practice.
Yeah.
And I was over the moon. And
of course, sure.
Then I heard words that literally changed the trajectory of my volleyball life, career, whatever you want to call it. Welcome to North.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so then, now I have the license to actually go to a North practices. And at that time, Fayez was playing multiple times a week. Like he grew up playing multiple times.
Oh, yeah.
So, whenever I was in town, I found a game, and I remember the first practice I went to. We were playing in Richmond Hill. I get to the school. It's one of those, elementary schools, the gym with the stairs.
Yeah. Of course.
And we're just hitting it around in warm up. And I'm not going to mention the team that we were practicing because I don't think that's important.
That's fine.
But it was a good team. And there's 5 of us on the court. We have our netty. We've got 2 frontline players and me and Fayez in the back.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we're getting ready to toss and start the game. And I look at Fayez and I'm like, okay, so when is the rest of the team?
Where's the rest of the team?
I recognized one guy on the court. That was it. No, I didn't know the other players.
That's funny.
And he said, no, buddy, this is it, right? Like, so this is practice. And I look across the net, the team we're playing against, they had a sub.
Oh, no. So they
had a guy standing in third. Like
they got like 18 people on the other side.
So it was like, okay, so this is practice. And I remember right after that practice, Faisal wanted to talk about how I felt.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I told him how I felt. And then I asked him, what he felt as far
Yeah.
as how I played.
Yeah.
And, he was gentle.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then he pointed out one critical mistake that I had been making since I started playing volleyball.
Okay.
And it had nothing to do with my arms. It was all about my feet,
Footwork.
not my hands. It was my feet, especially moving backwards. I remember it like it was yesterday. So, like talk about payback, right? Like my first practice, I'm getting feedback like this, which for me growing up being coached since grade 6 was like, oh my God, I'm so comfortable.
Yeah. 100%.
So that was how it started with North.
So you get on to North, and your first tournament is Dallas, 2011, which was, to be honest, at that time is when I first got to play center, and I believe there was a tournament in Minnesota in 2011. It was my first tournament in center, and we had heard of a tournament in Dallas, or a tournament that had taken place in Dallas, that we had to go watch these videos because it was the greatest performance at that time, at least, between like two monster teams, right? With North and then East, or some mixed team there was, at least at the time. I believe it was East.
Look, that team was Reblo, Galib lifting. So Sidi's lifter.
Yeah.
Sidi was on that team. And those guys at that time were sort of they were at the tail end of the peak, right? Like they were just peaking out.
Yeah, exactly.
And they had brought what everybody believed were the next two big young guns.
100%.
And that was Altaz from Vancouver.
Yeah.
And on the right side, our favorite lefty, Samir from Edmonton.
Who plays for Stars? Who plays for Stars now?
Right. So that team was feared, right? And they had one purpose. It was to win the tournament.
Oh, 100%.
And so, off we go. I'm not even well-versed enough in the volleyball community at this point.
Right.
To even feel the pressure, right? I'm like, oh yeah, let's go. This is going to be.
Yeah, exactly. Which is the best feeling, to be honest, the best time.
Yeah, until you get to the ground, bro.
Yeah.
But I remember getting geared up, practicing, playing frontline, ready to rock. And Hasnain was playing for us that tournament.
Yes, I remember.
And he was playing back left. So I had arguably the best defensive player of all time playing.
100%.
So in my mind, it's like, if I got a duck, I got a duck. Like, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah.
And so I'm going in feeling pretty good.
Right.
And I wake up Saturday morning, and Faisal's sitting in my room.
Okay.
And I look at him and say, everything okay? And he says, everything's fine, bro, but you got to play back line. And he gets up and he leaves.
Oh.
And I'm thinking to myself, okay, all right. He's got to be messing with me, right?
Yeah.
So we get downstairs, have breakfast. We're in the car. And the conversation comes out.
Yeah.
Hasnain, he had eaten something the night before, and he was in rough shape.
Oh no.
So he hadn't slept all night.
Okay.
So here we go, and we get to the ground, and one guy's forgotten his shoes.
Oh,
another guy's
one of those
late,
days. One of those days. Yeah.
And I think first game of that tournament, Zaire, Nabil's dad, played front line for us.
Okay.
Thankfully, we squeezed it out, but
yeah.
I found a groove playing next to Faisal, and I was comfortable because I'd done it in practice.
Exactly.
And then we hit this team. Fortunately, it was the last round robin game of the day.
Okay.
And I think they'd set it that way to give people an opportunity to watch.
Of course, yeah.
And
prime time.
Thankfully, by that time, Hasnain had already been at the ground for a couple of hours.
Okay.
And the sense was, he'll be there, but if we need him, he can always come in. So again, I go into this game with that in the back of my mind, but feeling fairly good. And so, man, I held up to a degree, but towards the end of that game, they started wearing on me, man. Like, I wasn't controlling the ball. I was returning it. I was reacting. I was taking too many underhand. Like, my mindset had become defensive, and Faisal hated that mindset.
Yeah.
And I gave a few, and so in game 2, Hasnain came in. I moved to the front.
Okay.
And we started. I remember the huddle, and Faisal saying, "Okay, guys, the next game doesn't matter. Let's play it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's time to set our hands for tomorrow with our tournament side.
Of course.
So let's go in and let's go hard. So, we lost the first one. It was very close. I think we lost it in time.
Okay.
We won the second one inside of time. So I think we placed very well anyway. And then we didn't have to play them again until the final, which, game one is not available on video. We didn't put it up. It was never posted.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was never posted. Game two is, and I got to say, between the round robin game and the finals, between Ali and Faisal, I think they had sorted. They knew how to play them, and so
yeah, that they just caught on. I think, right?
So we were rolling downhill very quickly.
Why is game one not up?
Look, I think
what happened in game one?
Okay, so look, it was a love game.
Okay.
And I think that was a culmination of a lot of things that were going on at the time.
Right.
And to be fair, no one individual player made the call. Because at 12 or 13, we called a timeout and a conversation was had in the huddle. Mm-hmm. Now, it's my first tournament, right? I'm in awe that this conversation is happening, first of all.
Yeah.
And I'm just taking it in. Yep. But ultimately, the team made a decision. Mm-hmm. And again, like I say, I think it was a culmination of a lot of different things.
Of course.
But the team made a decision. And I think to a degree, there's a level of regret. I don't know. Look, I don't know if it would be different if we went back and had to do it again.
Exactly.
I wouldn't make that statement.
Hindsight's 2020.
Right. I wouldn't be comfortable making a statement like that. Yeah. But I think one of the reasons why it's not on video is because I don't think it wasn't one of our finest moments.
Yeah. I agree. And I get that. And it's
but game two's on.
Out of respect. Yeah. Well, go watch game two because it's a doozy. I mean,
it's just because I can, I'm going to say it. That was a game where I've never, up until that point, I had, in all the time I had practiced with Faisal, all the time I had spent with him playing, I had never seen him take control of the ball like that before. Right. There was a different gear in that final. And he didn't let up until the game was over. There was no coasting to the finish.
Yeah.
There was a hard start, a hard play, hard finish. That's how we played.
So you win your first tournament with North. Seems like you're the good luck charm also. And what was that like? What was that like? That first win? Did it almost feel like surreal? And I could win a lot with this guy.
It was surreal. It was, forget about the winning. It was taking in the team, taking in what it was like to be on the court with a group that truly was there for one another. There was no, I want to play here, I want to play there, or I'm waiting for this guy not to do well so I can step in.
Exactly.
My God, it was a feeling that I hadn't felt since provincials in high school, right?
Yeah.
It was an innocent will to win.
Yeah.
And there was also a different level of intensity, right?
Yeah.
When you talk nerves versus confidence.
Of course, 100%.
Nerves are a good thing. They're not a bad thing.
Yeah, they're not a bad thing at all.
But when you start forgetting that you're playing the game and you're just doing what comes naturally, the confidence just comes.
100%.
Right? We're not thinking on the volleyball court.
Of course not.
To be with a collective that encourages that really forces you to swing at it and go with it and trust yourself, it was extraordinary. And then, of course, the notion of Faisal Banji, right?
Which is what I'm gonna get into next. When you are now a part of North and you're winning and there's dominance in your winning. It's not like you're winning by just winning, like you're thread of a needle winning. You're winning with dominance, and you're playing with the best player, possibly, and in most people's eyes, 99.9% of people's eyes, the best player ever to have stepped on the volleyball court. What was that feeling like? Was it almost like holy shit, we're the best and no one's gonna beat us?
First off, Salman, I want you to introduce me to that 0.1%.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to have a conversation.
Yeah, me too.
But I wasn't starstruck. Now, this sounds crazy to say. Faisal was still my little brother.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
You
That's
know,
true.
I think I was in awe of his skill. Like, I saw him do something that I had never seen before almost every time I was on the court with him. It was subtle. It was a movement. It was a complete inversion of his hands, like things like that people miss, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's people who watch his videos today.
Mm-hmm.
There's people who are lucky enough to have watched him play live.
Yeah.
Even more lucky were people who got to play against him.
Yeah, seriously, man.
But the select few that had an opportunity
To play
to
with
be
him.
on the same side of the court,
I can only imagine.
under pressure,
I can only imagine.
going to war, he's like a buffer.
Yes. That's
a
a
ball
perfect
drops
way.
at your feet,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like you talk about get over it, play the next point.
Yeah.
You know, the number one issue with traditional volleyball today is when a player breaks, that's it. With Faisal, you break, and it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
He's got you, right? Like, you step out, you sit out a game or two, you come right back. It was just this. That's where the confidence flowed from.
100%.
Right? And then you got Ali in the net. You got Nabil on right, which, in my opinion, to this day, there hasn't been a more dominant frontline player. Like, when I think about the best players that have played, I mean, he's in the conversation with guys like Goofy and some of the New York frontline.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's a different level, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I look around the court and I'm thinking to myself, I got nothing to worry about. Like, these guys got my back.
That's so true.
Right. So I think that was sort of how it channeled in the moment. But, you know, you talk about from the early 2010 decade, right?
Yeah.
You know, I think it went a bit to our head, right? Like, at the end of the day, I mean, we weren't. I think we handled ourselves well.
Oh, very well. Yeah. Faisal was the nicest dude to talk to.
Yeah, right. But I think in preparation, I think we started taking it kind of for granted to a degree.
And that's what I'm going to get to next, right? In 2011, 2012, 2013 comes around.
Yeah.
2013, RK's tournament, we get a chance. I believe we had just gotten into the finals in New York. New York did our first final. At that time, there were no open tournaments besides RK's. We come to RK's, get a chance to play against Faisal. And we see this aura of Faisal. Now I'm playing center against Faisal for the first time. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like the greatest feeling on earth, right? And we put it to North. We put it to you guys. And I was shocked because I was like, wait a second. We're what? Like that, we're not supposed
to. We had a tough time.
Yeah. And it was like, you can tell it was a different North team where there was struggle, a sense of like, wow, we're just not winning as easy as before. And it wasn't like Faisal was dying out. Faisal was only getting better.
Oh no, Faisal was still the best player in the tournament.
Of course. And it was just like the team just wasn't the same as it was in the past. And you could see it where you guys got to the quarters. Van City took you guys to 3 games. You eventually meet. You're the third game in the RK semifinal. Faisal has to make a crazy comeback, which we'll touch on.
No, that was 14, Salman.
Oh, that was 14. I apologize.
Yeah.
In 13, you guys in 13, you guys get to the finals and play against Durab. And it's like Durab obviously wins that tournament. We talk, and that's something that his legacy has been built on, right? What was that year like? What was that time? Not year, but that time like, where it was it almost surreal that you guys were actually losing games?
It didn't feel like it. Look, first and foremost, United Stars deserved to win that final.
Mm-hmm.
They were the better team.
Yeah.
I think when I look back on that tournament, we were missing guys, right? Like,
yeah.
Faisal had carried a team for a long time with a few elements to help him.
Yes.
But as other teams started to evolve,
right,
it became harder and harder to do that. Now, that 2013 runner-up trophy is one of the few. I've got 4 volleyball trophies that I held on to.
Right.
So I told you about the first one. The second one is that 2013 runner-up trophy.
Okay.
And the reason why I kept that, because after getting slapped in that, I felt like we got slapped in that entire tournament, not just the
Yeah.
final.
Yeah.
We saved face by even making the final, I would think.
Yeah.
But I think it became clear that we can't just show up with 2 or 3 elements of a team and expect Faisal to do all the heavy lifting.
Yeah. 100%.
And so, I think it was a reality check. And a turning point for North.
And I think that's where I almost see the time where I just wish that Faisal was still around. Like, I just wish that, because it almost seemed like that was the time where our community was learning about Faisal. We all wanted to be like Faisal. We made our teams just like North, wanting to beat North, which was the cream of the crop, right? Coming to these tournaments to play North. And now our side of the community is getting better. The Smiley communities, guys, like you said, they were getting past their peak. They were starting to peak out. Faisal was still in his prime, just getting better and better every year. And it was almost like we were meeting. Finally, it was a meeting point, and it was going to be like this for like the next 10 years, right? And unfortunately, obviously, Faisal passes and things change. But he almost paved the way for our community to have like a resurgence in volleyball, because our community, the volleyball, it was dying out. And older guys were playing, younger guys didn't want to play. We were playing basketball at tournaments, and now we're all into volleyball because we see this dude who's like jumping out the gym, and we're like, yo, we want to be like that guy. It's cool again to play volleyball. It's not that standing style where you just float all day. It's like, wow, athleticism can be on display every single time you step on the court. And so that's why I thought we were getting better, and it was going to pose a threat to Faisal. And I think today, if we were able to see Faisal, which we'll get into later on, but if we were able to see Faisal amongst these teams today, the landscape of volleyball would be absurd, like absurd. But again, I think at that point, like you said, it was a wake-up call. But then 2014 comes around.
Look, I think 2014 onwards, I don't think there's a team in the world that can touch us.
Agreed.
A lot of the older guys retired. I mean, that was Zor's last tournament.
Yeah.
I think North as a group stopped taking these tournaments lightly.
Yes.
Players would plan around these tournaments.
Yeah.
Instead of, I'm here or I'm there and I can't make it.
Yeah.
But look, Amil joins in 2014.
Yes, which was a big get.
We go back to the RK tournament.
Yes.
And we find ourselves in the stall in the semifinal, right? And it's
which was
we split the first 2 with RK. Now, don't get me wrong, full marks to RK, bro. Like Shanu playing out of his shoes, Abbas playing out of his shoes, Mansour playing out of his shoes. We had the front line was solid. I mean, they were all on. They were all firing. The service was coming. Marhum Shamash was on the court playing short with his gloves, pounding balls into the net. Well, I should say steering balls into the net, right?
Yeah.
And they were just firing. And we find ourselves in game 3, and it's 12-2 for RK.
That video's up if people want to see it.
And it's a game to 16.
Yeah.
And I remember a timeout. We took a timeout. Faisal walked over to the ref to get a time check.
Okay.
And this is another Faisal leadership moment, right? He turns around, and we're waiting for him to come and tell us time. And as he's walking back, he's got this big smile on his face.
Right.
And as he gets closer, one of the guys, and I can't repeat what he said because it was spirited.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
It was, what are you smiling about?
Yeah.
And his response was, with a big smile, was, "Oh, guys, we got 8 minutes. It's not a problem."
Oh, yeah. That's a lot of time.
When you hear that from the best player in the world, you believe it.
100%.
I was off to the side, and not a fan of North comes over to me. Not important who, but a guy that was cheering for RK.
Yeah.
Comes over to me and he says, in a pretty condescending way, "So you think you can come back from this?" And I said, "I don't know, man. Like, volleyball is a funny game."
It is. Most
But
definitely is.
if we don't, you're going to be carrying out some North players, because that's just after 2013. There was this was not an option. Like it was not an option.
Yeah.
Especially with the team that we put on the court, there was no excuse.
Oh, of course, 100%.
And that game finished, as you remember, 16-12.
Yep.
And fortunately, we had an opportunity to play United Stars again in the final.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Tarab would agree that on that given day, the better team won.
Yeah, 100%.
And so, but I think what happened after 2013 was there was a different relationship with North and other teams.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Going through, the changes we made coming back.
Yeah.
But like, I'll put that team in 2014 and onwards. I'll put them against any team in volleyball history. Now, player for player, probably not one of the best teams ever put together.
Yeah.
But as a unit with Faisal,
it was amazing. It was
hands
amazing.
down. Yeah.
So you get to play with Faisal and this team for another couple of years, but we all hear that he's not doing well. What was that? Because like you said, it almost was 13 was a wake-up call. 14, you finally got your team together. In your mind, I'm sure you guys are thinking, okay, great. Here we are. We got a team together that's going to work. We have a run in us, a dynastic run that's going to take us 5, 7, potentially 10 years. Faisal was a young cat still. And you were like, I'm sure you guys were thinking about the future. Like, oh my God, this could be the future of North could be filled with trophies, right? And unfortunately, he gets diagnosed. What was that entire time like?
Listen, for me, it started with disbelief. Disbelief became anger.
Yeah.
And that anger eventually became a reluctance to accept the reality of the situation.
Right.
And that was it. Like, in fact, I pissed Faisal off during that time because I think I was pushing him to deal with this the way I thought he should deal with it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it came from a place of love and
of course.
But that's not what he needed at the time. Right. And so it took a lot of time to digest. We went to Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
He had a biopsy.
Yeah.
And we went to Calgary. And I remember landing in Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a couple hours ahead of the guys. And a friend of ours in Calgary had invited us for dinner because he said, look, once the tournament starts, I'm not going to see you.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I picked up the guys from the airport. We went to the hotel. Okay. And Faisal was done. Like, he was in bed. He couldn't even come out. So
wow,
it was painful to see him.
I'm sure.
Going through that. I mean, this was a superhero, right? Like,
yeah, he was. He truly was.
But I think after Calgary, I can speak for myself. I think I came to accept it, and I think I tried to do my level best to be there for him the way he wanted me to be there.
Yeah.
And shortly after Calgary, Faisal's in bed. Saw him a few times.
Yeah.
He had a very unique relationship with my eldest daughter, Kalia.
Yeah.
So we'd take them down to see him.
Yeah.
When he was home, before he was,
Yeah.
But I think it really hit home in late summer of that same year. I had gotten really sick, a neurological impairment. I had lost my eyesight.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. All my reflexes had gone cold. Pins and needles in my body all the time. It was a neurological issue.
Okay.
Fortunately, a doctor who had seen it before was able to diagnose me and treated me. But I remember having a conversation with Faisal when I was in a hospital bed.
Yeah.
And he was in a hospital bed.
That's crazy.
And dude, we just cried. Like, we just cried on the phone.
I could imagine, man. I could imagine.
I got out of the hospital after about 8 days.
Okay.
And I was in the clear, but was going to have to go through a lot of rehab.
I'm sure. Yeah, exactly.
And all I wanted was to see Faisal. And I remember getting out of the hospital. It was a Thursday evening that I was discharged. I woke up early that morning. I went to G.O.A.T.
Yeah.
From there, a good friend of mine drove me and my wife Nurin to Toronto. And I wasn't allowed to do any of this, right? I was supposed to be on bed rest.
Exactly, right.
And so I even told the GM at the hotel, look, I don't want anybody to know I'm coming. So, he came, he let us in through the service entrance, first room, and I freshened up, rested for a while. And then we went to Sunnybrook Hospital downtown Toronto, where Faisal was. And, I got my time with him. That evening, we spent together. Look, one of the most difficult things that we've had to deal with, and I mean, it was harder for certain people, right? Like, obviously, you think about Salimanko.
Yeah.
Think about Ali. Think about Nabil.
I remember,
right?
Amin was
right? Like,
torn, man.
So I think for me, in the way I looked at being a part of this team, I think I kind of deferred some of my grief because of my personal health issues.
Yeah.
And then I kind of felt like I had to be there for my teammates.
100%.
And I think we all felt that way. And so that was, I think, the scary thing is what he taught us while he was alive is what got us through his death.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah.
When this is all done, all said and done, and he passes, how much longer does it take for North to sit down and go, okay, what do we do now? What's the direction of the team? Like, what do we do without our mainstay?
Look, again, it's part of that acceptance, right?
Yeah.
And it's part of moving on. I can tell you personally, I wasn't thinking about volleyball.
I'm sure. Yeah. 100%.
What we were going to do the following spring for RK, I mean, that wasn't anywhere
in your
remotely
mind.
in our minds.
Yeah.
We had lost our brother.
Yeah.
I think when again, the situation presented, I think it was okay. We got to play, right? Like,
yeah, for him, right? At least, right? Like he that's what he would have wanted.
Exactly. And so, you saw that commemorative jersey.
Yes.
We put his name on our backs.
I love that. It was amazing. I mean, just that tournament, the crowd, and it was just you had goosebumps every time you watched North play. There was goosebumps.
And look, I mean, Darius came down.
Yeah.
Amel was there. I mean, look, it was all hands on deck. And it's funny, right? So we struggle through the round robin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? We place 8th.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? We barely sneak in. And we've got United Stars round 1 at 8 in the morning. And so it was funny, we went and had a dinner with our families and friends on Saturday evening.
Yeah.
And, we didn't talk about this amongst the team, but we all pretty much told our families and friends the same thing. Look, sleep in tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll give you a call after the quarters and we'll figure out the plan. That was what we said.
Yeah. And this arcade this arcade tournament, Stars North rivalry has another chapter, right? Like, it's like,
well, look, I think it was going to be a footnote.
Yeah.
Rather than a chapter. I think it was going to be left off, the front page.
Yeah.
Because functionally, you don't stand a chance with Faisal, right? Like, that was just.
Yeah. Yeah. It's in your mind.
We don't have a chance, right? Like, playing against some of the, and we didn't even have a pure center. I mean, we had Amil, who's a center.
Yeah. He's a hybrid guy,
Yeah. But Amil's place on our team was always being that rock on the left, which, by the way, Amil in my mind is still, I mean, I took my hat off to Jobber in Edmonton and what he's done.
Yeah.
But pound for pound, I still think Amil's the best back left in the world. So we've got Amil, we've got Raheem Daras, right? And
Daras,
you know, we play that first game of the quarterfinal, and it doesn't go well at all.
Yeah, it does not go well.
It doesn't go well at all. And you know, but as expected, right?
Yeah, it wasn't like, you know, I don't think it shook you guys as much, right?
Yeah, it was like, okay, yeah, all right. We're here, we represented.
Yeah, that's good.
We made peace with it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then the second game, and we just, I don't know, man. Faisal was whispering in our ears because we threw everything we had. Like the kitchen sink, it doesn't even describe it.
Yeah.
You know, we had Ali in the back, on the right, moving around, mixing players. And somehow we pull off a second game win.
Yeah.
Fluke. All right.
Fluke,
let's do it again.
Fluke,
let's do it again. By this time, the streams have picked up, right?
Yeah.
And so
people are filing in. They're watching.
I don't think we were the better team that day.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
I think we were. I think we were inspired that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's a message to the young kids that are hopefully listening and watching this. Like,
and we were a little bit angry.
Yeah. Naturally, you have a shot any given Sunday. Any given Sunday, you got a shot
against any team.
Against any freaking team. And it's funny because my father always told me the worst thing to give an opponent is hope. You give an opponent hope, and they can come back any given day. And sometimes I always tell my friends, I always tell my teammates, I always tell my friends, you just need magic, a little magic, right? Just a little magic, and that's it, baby. Like you got a shot.
Rub some sticks together, and if you get that spark, here you go.
That's it.
So semifinals, we actually found our groove, and I thought we were dominant in the semis.
Yeah.
Losing in the final to Jaffrey's again, you know, it would have been nice to pull it through.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, that tournament, there were two highlights for me that I'll carry with me until my last breath.
I think we might have the same ones, but yes, go ahead.
The first highlight was how that final started. And I don't want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen it. I strongly recommend you go back and you watch that because
100%.
It was special the way it started.
So special.
We were, I think all of us were teary-eyed, including Jaffrey's.
Yeah.
When the whistle,
the crowd
started.
Yeah.
And the second thing that stands out to me is that tournament ended for us with Salim Uncle in the center.
Yes, which was so cool.
Yeah,
which was just like.
Look, I think it was really more important for us, and we weren't actively thinking about this stuff.
Yeah,
but it was really, really important for us at this tournament to do our best to get some closure on the court.
Yeah,
and again, it wasn't tactical. It was a spur of the moment decision. And you know, the first third ball he hit, he actually took a point.
He did.
Yeah.
They were in the stands. It's funny because I speak to Daras about this game all the time, and he tells me the greatest 10-minute span of his career was that day where he got a chance to come. It was so, he's like, Sal, it almost felt like I wasn't playing. It almost felt like that. Like Faisal had taken over and was just making me do things that I couldn't even do. Like, it was crazy. And you just hear that and you see it, and it's like, wow, an 8th seed made it that far. Like, anything is possible, bro. Like, anything is possible if you just believe.
Black and red, baby, black and red.
That's it. You guys obviously go down in that final, but it was something where people were like, wow, wait a second, hold the brakes. It's like when Jordan left the Bulls and Pippen still gave him the top seed. It's like, wait a second, they're still a good team, right? What happens internally with North at that time? Is it, okay, let's keep going. Let's ride this out because obviously we can still do this.
Absolutely. I mean, I think if we would have exited in the quarterfinal, it's hard to say what we would have taken
could have happened
from that tournament. But dropping a final are in our first tournament without Faisal, I think reminded us that this is a team game.
Yeah.
And you know, it's interesting. Faisal knew that ahead of everybody.
Yep.
Faisal was the first guy to tell you. I mean, look at the changes he made. Look at the players he brought over time to his team. They were all there to be solid in the positions on the court.
Yeah.
And so, you know, those changes, all of that, it's still continuing. Like, people think from 2014 onwards, it was just like, okay, let's just play. No. It wasn't like that. Look, there is a rule on this team that it doesn't matter who you are. On Sunday, the best players play.
Yep.
We demonstrated that in 2018 in that semifinal, right? Like, and I know we'll talk about that, but that's what our mantra was at that time.
Yep.
And it became our mantra. Like, look, backline was having trouble, so the changes were made.
Yeah.
Zishan lifted by himself.
Yeah. 100%.
You know, so like it was about all these years we had players on this team, and we still do, who can play any position on the court.
For sure.
Any position.
For sure.
And so all the years we were playing with Faisal, we didn't have to play any position.
Yeah.
We played where we served the team best.
Yeah.
In the overall strategy to feed the ball to the best player in the world.
Yeah. 100%.
Right? It was a winning strategy.
No doubt about it.
But no one cared about what everybody else was saying.
Yeah. And
so all of a sudden, we make this final, we lose in the final, and we're reminded of the fact that we're all good volleyball players.
Exactly.
And so, you know, shortly after that, you know, another game-changing event for us with Abbas joining.
Yeah, which was a key thing.
You know, like Abbas coming to the team changed everything.
Yeah.
You know, and so it was sort of, you know, people think that where the team is today is by chance, and it just happened. No. Remember, Jamil came.
Yes.
You know, like
there were a lot of additions. There were
Monty came.
Yes.
So
100%.
You know, the team was evolving.
When Faisal passes, there almost is like, and I think after that tournament in particular, the Isnaja community, the Ismaili community start to come together in having more open tournaments. And I think that was something, unfortunately, we should have probably been more progressive with that, but I don't know what we were thinking, and I don't know what our previous people were thinking, but it doesn't matter. We opened tournaments up, and it was a scary notion because people were like, you know, and look, let's be honest, okay? And I'm gonna shoot it straight. People may not like it, but it is what it is. And some people didn't want Faisal at tournaments because they knew that they had no shot. They knew that if Faisal showed up with North, that they were probably going to lose. And for our community, they almost looked forward to the tournaments that were closed because they were like, wait a second, that's our chance to win, right? And while there were people that supported it and pushed for it, there were some people that didn't. And thankfully, the smarter people prevailed. And we were able to create this brotherhood with the Ismaili community that now there's only open tournaments. Every tournament open.
Soma, look, you remember being off to the side in San Antonio?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Having a conversation.
Yes.
Arif Ali was there. You were there.
Yes.
Imran was there. Like the future leaders of all these teams were fighting to open them.
Yep.
And Faisal knew that. We knew that. But you know, I think back, and you were there. Yeah. Minnesota, man. Yeah. That's trophy number 3 up on the map. Out of the 4. Trophy number 3 is Minnesota.
We played in the final.
Yeah, and so 4 teams, 2 Minnesota teams, North and New York Union.
Yeah.
Show up for this tournament.
Yeah.
Because they believed that you can't win a trophy without having the team to beat in the gym.
100%.
Now, what's interesting is I know you and Faisal spoke about this because it was like, should we do this? Should we not do this?
Yeah.
So you know, I know you're the interviewer, but you know, I think that it would be interesting to hear what that conversation was like.
I just look. I told Faisal and I always told Faisal this, and I said, listen, man, I think that we're hurting more than you guys are. And if I know a lot of people would say, oh my God, the Ismaili game was dying, or it was not as fruitful as it once was, because again, we talked about, but I think we were the ones that lost, because Faisal and you guys coming to our tournament was just going to help our youth, was just going to help us, was just going to grow our game globally amongst all communities, right? And for me, I come from a place in New York where we would play with Ismailis, right? With Kareem and these guys, right? We would play with we have a Hindu player in Jay Singh. He was one of our key players, bro. The guy was like heart and soul of New York Union, right? We have we had Sunni guys come play with us. Like, it wasn't about that for us, man. We were all open doors. And I think as I became the captain and all that stuff, we wanted to have Faisal in our tournaments. And you know what? Our loss. Because today there's kids sitting there saying, we never watched Faisal play. We
Yeah,
never got
it's
an
unfortunate.
opportunity to see Faisal. And it's
It really is.
unfortunate because
You don't actually appreciate the
you
grandeur of
don't.
his game on a
On
video.
a video, you don't. You don't.
You just
Like,
can't. Yeah.
and it's like I feel like I let those kids down, or I didn't, I wasn't quick enough to pull the trigger, or like I'm like, man, like,
Hold on. You were in Minnesota. I mean, it's not
yeah,
important how many teams dropped the week of that tournament.
yeah,
Whatever that was done, why that was done, what type of message was meant. But hats off to Minnesota, man. Those
yeah,
guys said, if you guys are coming, we have the gym.
we'll do it. Yeah, we'll do it. Yeah,
And to be honest, we were going anyway.
yeah, yeah,
And then to hear that New York Union
yeah,
is, I mean, your actions spoke loud and clear to the entire
yeah,
volleyball community.
yeah. We put in a ragtag team. We're like, yeah, you guys still want to go? And I remember calling Faisal, and I'm like, Faisal, are you still going? And Faisal's
Yeah.
like, dude, I'm going. Like, I promised them I'm gonna go. I made a commitment. I'm gonna go. I'm like, you're gonna go all the way to Minnesota? And he's like, yeah, dude, I'm gonna do it. And I was like, he's like, you gotta come, man. And I was like, all right, bro. If you say that's what you like, if that's what you're gonna do.
Yeah, man.
Uh-huh,
Ganji
uh-huh.
retired after that tourney.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember. Yes,
After
exactly.
and he got that MVP and
MVP. Yeah, yeah. He's like, I'm out. But it's crazy because you know what? That tournament, and it's funny because going to that tournament, I'll tell you what happened. So many people laughed at me and were like, you're going to a 4-team tournament in Minnesota. Okay, my wife's from Minnesota, so I can't say too many bad things about Minnesota. To Minnesota, okay, to do what? Lose to Faisal? Like, what are you gaining from this? First of all, you have to beat the Minnesota team, which at that time was really good, that Minnesota A team, and Imran Walji and these guys. Then you got to play Faisal. Like, you're not going to do all this. Like, and Faisal brought the best team, bro. He had Abbas, he had Amil, he had everyone you can imagine, right? He had Abu
and Ganji.
and Ganji. And I was
Ganji
just
in
like,
front right, 52
right.
years old, man.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sitting there like, you know what? You're right. I probably have no shot, but let's see what happens. And I remember
that final was fun, bro.
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I remember for me, it was almost like, I don't know how many people are going to watch this video because I knew Faisal was recording. I was like, but it's my time to show out, right? Like, here's my chance. And the first game we play you in the round robin and we win. And it's like, holy shit, how did that just happen? So I walk outside, right? Now, obviously, I'm young and I'm just like, holy cow, I just beat Faisal, right? So I walk outside and Imran Murji, my back left, guy with the glasses, comes out with me, right? So we're just hanging outside, brick cold, and we're hanging outside, and Faisal comes out, and Imran doesn't know that Faisal's behind, right? So Imran goes, man, I can't believe we just beat Faisal. He couldn't even take a point off me. And Faisal's sitting there like just smiling, right? So I'm like, Imran, don't turn around. So he turns around and Faisal's there, and Faisal's like, what'd you say? And he's like, no,
Wow.
I didn't say nothing, bro. I didn't say nothing, right? And we're all young, like I said, like we're like enamored by Faisal already, and we're like, holy shit, like we're so scared. And Faisal's like, I promise you, I'm gonna take your pants off the next game. And he hit 95% of the balls to Imran Murji. Imran was like, and that's what made Imran better. And you know what? I'm grateful that we came.
I've never
that made us better.
seen a guy hit the floor that many times.
That many times.
It was
just game over for him. And then we beat Minnesota A in the semis on a final point in game 3. We get you guys in the finals. And to be honest, yeah, I wasn't an idiot. I knew we were going to lose. But if I just gave a fight, if I just had a good time with it, it was the greatest time. And that tournament, for me, turning point in my career because I got to play and showcase myself. And I think my teammates saw that what I'm capable of. I think Faisal made me better, made my guys better because they were like, holy, like we're playing against the best, bro. We got to play him 4 or 5 times. Like it's like a free practice. It's like a practice, bro. Like he's just hitting us and they're getting better off of that. It was surreal, man. It was just, yeah. And I think
that's trophy number 4.
Okay. Yeah, that's it was really honestly a good moment. I think unfortunately after that, he passes and we never really got a chance to have him at more tournaments. And it was just sad. But I'm so glad today that it's not even a question anymore. Like we've come to a point where we're begging North to come. Like, please, North, show
come
up.
on, come on,
Like
come on.
we love,
you
love
guys
having
listen,
you guys there.
You guys listen to too many rumors.
No.
I heard Abbas is playing for Allentown in Orlando.
No, yeah, sure.
That's what I heard.
We love when North comes because it is almost like they bring a different element and they still hold that Ismaili volleyball banner high, and it's almost like they've kept it up there for so long that it's almost like they are the face of Ismaili volleyball, and it's great to have them at tournaments. What is your take on this entire thing and where it is today?
As we sit here, let me start by saying our tournaments are still closed. Now, they don't happen very often, once every 4 years, whatever. But I think that says something, that the Ishnashri community, whatever, I mean, past is past, right? Like, we can't change it even if we could.
Exactly, right.
No matter how badly we want to. But, I think we still struggle with that. But we also have a different community understanding of volleyball. It's no longer a community sport.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? Where it's private. So I think that's a challenge. But when I think about the Ishnashri community, as a volleyball player, I'm grateful.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I push Ottawa so hard to come to these tournaments, and they came to Edmonton.
Yeah,
right?
They did. Yeah.
And they get to see the youth and the way the youth are playing in the Ishnashri community.
Yeah.
And it inspires them. Like, the Ishnashri community has taken the full burden of this on their shoulders.
Yeah.
I mean, globally, right? Like, you're connected globally pretty much.
Yeah.
And we're getting the benefit of that. So first off, I think we've come a long way.
Of course.
I think it doesn't matter anymore.
100%.
To like, I want to say our generation, but I should say
yeah, I know what your point. I know
the generation behind me, right?
Yeah,
like the ones like you in your 30s. It doesn't. You're the leaders now. It doesn't matter to you.
Yeah.
So I think you've come a long way. But where I'm most grateful is this was Faisal's vision too.
Oh yeah,
we played in Vora tournaments.
Yeah.
Years ago, we played against Palace in a Palace tournament.
Yes. And we used
where
to
we would rotate.
We used to play Palace all the time. Yeah.
Right. And you know who was on that team? Riblo played with us. Amin. Nabil's brother. Like, it was a ragtag group. And it was. I mean, it was an interesting experience. We never got invited back again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny.
But I don't know where that trophy is actually. I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a trophy. Anyways,
I think it was cash prizes. Yeah.
Well, I don't know where that cash went.
Cash went. Yeah.
But honestly, it was like Faisal's vision for volleyball was to use it as a platform to unite people.
Yeah.
And he had in his mind a global vision for volleyball.
Yeah.
And he used his celebrity, so to speak, to push traditional volleyball. Right? Like, he would push it so hard, even within the Ismaili community. You look at Wahid today. I mean, I can't wait for you guys to see Wahid lift. He won't be in Orlando, unfortunately, but when you get a chance to see, I mean, Wahid has turned into a stud in the.
I know.
Right?
I know. I've heard.
And so, as the youth come through Toronto, Faisal is still one of the driving forces for them to be in the game.
For sure.
So how do I feel about it? I think it's a long time coming. And hopefully we have some time. I know there's some other stuff you want to talk about. Yeah. But hopefully we have some time towards the end to maybe talk a little bit more about how or where this game should be going.
Yeah, which we will. We'll touch on that. I wanted to segue into open tournaments. And now the fact that everything is open, 2018, New York hosts its first open tournament. And unfortunately, Faisal wasn't with us, which I pushed several tournaments before that to be open, but it never happened. 2018 happens. North graces us with their presence, but we hear they have some additions, and those additions are guys we played with because we play Palace all the time. They used to come to New York in these Bahora tournaments, and we used to play against them. And we're like, holy shit! Like they're taking Usman and Amir, and we knew what that was all about, right? We knew what they were all about. We knew that they were damn good players, but I don't think the rest of the volleyball world knew what was gonna really shock the world that Sunday in New York. Um, Tell me how that started, the recruiting of that, and then what took place in New York with almost having Lambada on the left side all tournament long, and then Sunday just bringing him out the woodworks.
So this story, I think, is probably we'll all get a chuckle, right? So
yeah,
I hear about these two new players that I got to come down and practice against.
Mm-hmm.
And as Salim Uncle tells the story, he does such a better job than I do.
I'll
do my best, though. I'll do my best.
Yeah, thanks, man. Best Salim Uncle impersonation.
So he's at work one day,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the guys who comes to the shop for repairs, who's actually a tow truck operator.
Okay.
I believe Salim Uncle told me his name was Shiraz.
Okay.
A friend of Salim Uncle's shows up, is in the office, and Salim Uncle has a picture of Faisal with a volleyball trophy.
Yeah.
Right?
Picture,
You've seen it.
Yeah. I've actually been to the shop too. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've seen it. And that spurs a conversation. And towards the end of the conversation, this gentleman starts talking about these two players who have been inspired by Faisal.
What?
That modeled their game after Faisal.
Yep.
And, Salim Uncle is a very kind man. I mean, imagine how many times he's heard this before.
I'm sure all the time.
But rather than brush him off, he says, okay, bring them to a practice. And he doesn't bring them to the North practice.
Mm-hmm.
He brings them to another practice.
Yeah.
And then I hear from Ali that Salim Uncle called, and Amin called, and they said, look, there's these players, you got to see them.
Yeah.
And so they came to the North practice, and that was it.
Yeah.
As far as New York, we were coming with bad intentions. I think
100%.
Right? Like, from our perspective, we were like, better late than never, really?
Yeah.
But anyways, you get over that stuff, right? Again, hindsight, 2020.
Yeah.
So we came with bad intentions. We wanted to make a point.
Yeah.
And after day 2, I think we made our point.
You did.
Finishing first taking the bye, finishing early, starting late, right? That's dominance from the beginning.
Finest. Yep.
Right up until the end of the round.
100%.
Was it gamesmanship with Usman? Maybe, but I think it was more about ensuring comfort. I think it was more about setting up the team for success.
Yeah.
I think it was about how do you sequence things? And I got to be honest. I mean, Ali, his mind on the strategic side is highly tactical.
Yeah, it is. Always has been.
And he was a leader of this team.
Yeah.
And so, we bought in. But the weapons, right? Like, you look at the back line.
I mean, the back line was absurd. Yeah.
Right. And by the way, it's the same back line we're bringing this time.
Oh, I love it.
But everybody's in just a little bit better shape.
Yeah. It's been, you took a 3-year break, bro. You better be in better shape. Got a lot of miles off those legs.
So gamesmanship plays into it to a degree.
Yeah.
But I think that was just a byproduct of what we were trying to achieve on Friday. Remember, they weren't there on Friday.
They weren't. Yeah, they had come.
Right. So I played the second line. I played the front line. I mean, kind of moved around.
Yep.
And Abu, who in my opinion was a story of the tournament. Like I can't believe people don't talk about Abu's tournament. Like
he had a great tournament.
Abu came
Great
out of the
tournament.
net, went to the front right.
Yeah, great tournament.
Dummill moved to the front. He was playing front left.
Mhm.
And after Friday, it was hard to take Abu out.
Yeah.
It was really hard. And so I watched on Saturday for most of the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
From third, right? And again, this was a point where I felt that perhaps my work would be done. Like I would be content after this tournament
Yeah.
and perhaps move into more of a support role. with the
Yeah.
team.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Especially seeing Abu play the way he played.
Right. Right.
But I mean, I can't say anything other than our execution was on point that tournament.
You played short center. At
Well,
one
I
point.
just to give I mean, just to give guys breaks.
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
I saw that a few times. Yeah.
I was just kind of moving around.
You were a utility
just
guy.
to
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
give guys breaks, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, because the biggest X factor in these tournaments is stamina, right? Like your energy.
Such
It's-
a big, it's huge,
right?
huge X factor.
And
Yeah.
so for me, it was, support where I can, and the team's vibing, it's gelling, it's flowing. Make no changes going into Sunday morning. Those were active decisions, Salman. It wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah. And you played Stanmore, I believe, in that quarterfinal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty easy game. I
Oh
think,
yeah.
you guys,
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think, we weren't even. I don't think we were attacking too much out of the center either.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
We
you
were
are.
just into
Yeah.
a very steady,
Yes.
fast
It was a lot.
game.
Yeah. It was a very good flow on your team at that time. Like,
Yeah,
you can tell
yeah.
that it was called clicking.
Yeah, and there was no feet crossing each other. Everybody was synchronized beautifully
Yes. Yes.
and comfortable and reading the ball really well, judging
Yes.
the ball really well.
Right.
So
right.
look, it's always like that. It goes well until it doesn't, right?
Exactly. And you write it out as much as you can, and
Yeah.
and in the semis you wrote it out to a victory.
Well, look,
that was
game
like-
one.
I mean, one of the greatest games ever. Like
Game-
that 3-game set was just amazing.
And I'll tell you, game one, I think it was the first time our game plan faltered.
Okay.
The right side, Nabil was playing second line. Nabil was in front of him.
Yes.
And, Arif Ali just was in a zone hitting that cross flight.
Yeah, he was such in a zone.
And, that right side just couldn't manage
Yeah.
to take the pressure. I mean, it didn't break.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah.
The game was so tight
Yeah.
that in those few mistakes on that right side,
Yeah. It really.
it led to Orlando winning that first game.
Yeah.
And then, it's clear I'm going to try going into the front right to support Nabil
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
try and cut that ball a little bit.
Yeah.
But going into that game, I can't remember a time where I felt more pressure.
Bro, I was feeling pressure on the sidelines.
Being down 1-0, no room for error against what was demonstrated, what Orlando had demonstrated was they were the best team in the tournament.
They were the best team. They were the best team at that time.
Right.
No doubt about it.
Game two was a war, and we were fortunate to make fewer errors.
Yeah.
In that level of play,
Essentially, that's what it is at that point.
about errors, right? It's
Yeah.
about
It's all
errors.
about unforced
So-
errors, baby.
we did. I mean, we were fortunate that we were able to plug down that right side.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And that made all the difference in the world, I think. And
Yeah.
Salim Uncle's service, oh my God, like throughout that tournament, this guy was taking points at key times. in
Such
service,
key times. Yep.
And that open hand, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously. Yeah.
anybody who's ever shook Salim Uncle's hand, though.
Yeah. Seriously.
And then game three,
Mhm.
I would have loved for us to get 2 extra minutes.
I know. I what could have been like, and that was the final. Essentially, that was the final, because you meet us in the final, it probably the fastest final in the history of volleyball, and it was just like we knew what we were getting into at that point. We were like, holy, like these guys just beat Orlando. And yes, there was a level of we thought maybe you guys were gassed, but Usman was not playing that many games, so he was fresh.
Yeah, right.
Fresh.
So like functionally, again, execution, right? Like Mike Tyson said it best, right? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the
until
face,
they get punched in the face,
right?
Yep.
Like we got punched in the face, and fortunately, my old ass was well rested.
Yes.
But the first few balls, go back to the video. I'm not even trying for the net.
Yeah,
I'm just send it.
You're just
Send,
putting
send,
it. You're
send,
just putting
send,
it.
send,
Yeah,
send.
putting it over.
Right? Like,
yeah. Just get your handset, man. Like, yeah,
yeah.
that's true. Yeah, you guys win. Sorry,
but there was a backstory here. We had a little bit of extra motivation.
Okay.
The extra motivation, like we needed it, right?
Yeah, as if, yeah, exactly.
But the little extra motivation was we had a little bet going on the team that if we won, if we won this tournament, we were going to shave Jamal's beard off.
Yes, I said that's exactly what happened right after the final.
Yeah, so people have been talking about my hair, and so I'm not sure if we'll have some extra motivation in Orlando.
Man,
we'll
that's
see.
funny. That's funny.
We'll see.
I see you're beardless right now, so it's a smart move. You guys win that one, and it's like North is back, baby. North is back on the map at the top where they belong. And it's like, what's right in the world? It's almost like, I'll tell you what, and you know what, people may not like what I'm about to say.
Oh no, here we go.
It's Nashri volleyball world. Everyone hated one another in terms of like rivalries, right? Like not hate personally, but
on the court,
like, on the court. Yeah, just rivalries, right? In this Nashri world. The only way you were happy is if Faisal won. Because it was like none of us won. He still won, and he's supposed to win. And it was like, man, I really don't want Orlando to win. Man, I really don't want New York to win. I don't really want Stars to win. So hopefully Faisal wins, right? And it's like when North won in 2018, it was like, we all got to reset. No one could say they were the king of the volleyball world. No one could say they were the top of the heap, the cream of the crop. Nobody could say it. And it was like North stood tall and took back what was rightfully theirs for a very long time. Now, you add Usman and Amir, and that we go to 2019, the Faisal tournament, and they're not with you. They play for Palace, which is their original team, and you guys still make a great run in the semis. We meet you guys in the semis. Great semifinal. Trust me, I had a lot of extra motivation on my end, and we pull it through after you guys beating us the first game, and we get to the final. Amazing final. We all talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
That 2019. So before we get into that, what has Usman and Amir's presence been like for the club? Like in terms of, did it almost rejuvenate you guys?
I think rejuvenate is a way to describe it. Outside looking in.
Yes.
Inside looking out, they fit.
They do.
And they brought a dynamic.
They do.
That we learned from and aspired to, right? So it was a mutually beneficial mending.
Yes.
Amir was just elected as one of our captains.
Yeah.
Our vice. And, I think these two guys they've got a spark to them. They've got an ethical spark to them. It's, when we were in Minnesota and we made the very difficult decision to pull out of the tournament after Schummers passed away.
Yes.
The first two to speak, I mean, that's how our meetings go.
Yeah.
The newer players speak first because the older guys don't want to influence them.
Yeah. Fair enough.
And, at the risk of sharing this, I hope they don't mind, but, they demonstrated their understanding.
Yeah.
And how closely they fit with us.
Yeah.
Over and over and over through the years. And that was just one example. But I mean, look, they were the missing piece for the 2018 team.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, we could have put a team out that didn't have them on it. But I don't think it would have been the best North team that we had available to us.
Right.
Right. So
fair enough.
So I think from a volleyball perspective, yeah, absolutely. But North is a brotherhood. It always has been.
It always has been.
And our success is really predicated on how we all feel about one another.
Yeah. 100%.
without Faisal, there was some deviation in that. And so we're going through all that. We've got 2 new players, but it seems as though their underlying value system aligns perfectly, not only with the identity of the team, but the identity of what the team needs to evolve to.
And I think that's where you're leading right exactly into my next question, which is, it's been 3 years since we've seen you guys. Now, I don't want to know your team yet. We'll talk about that at the end. But what is the mindset of North right now? It is
we got bad intentions, bro.
Yeah. Is it right back to where it was in 2019, man, where it was we're gunning. We're gunning, man.
The day that North comes to a tournament and isn't gunning, we probably aren't going to be at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, as much as we want to support the community, we can do that in other ways.
Yeah, that's true.
But to take the court, to put that jersey on,
it's a privilege.
Means something.
It's a privilege.
You'll hear in our huddles all the time, guys will be saying, it's time to earn our shirts, boys. Like, you'll hear that all the time.
Yeah.
And now we wear Faisal on that shirt.
I know.
So it's not just show up.
Yeah.
We confirmed our players. Our last player was confirmed like 10 days ago.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah.
But the guys, the core team, even in our meetings, all said, whether they were able to make it or not, that it's really important.
Yeah.
And some of the younger players who are moving into the leadership of the team even said, if this is a rebuild, it's a rebuild.
Yeah.
Early on.
Yeah.
Today, we're sitting here, and I know we're going to talk about it later, but today we're sitting here, and we're going into this with the mindset that we're defending 2018.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the mindset we're coming.
Yeah, fair enough, man. It's so true. I want to touch on your now 11-year COVID broken up career with North, because you've obviously 11 years you were starting at pretty much just an invite, right? And now you play a totally different role for this team, which is a very evolving role. If you've watched Fayez's career throughout, which I was lucky enough to follow as I saw him tournament to tournament, I saw how his role on the team, how your role on the team was different every single tournament. You became more of a leader. You became more vocal. You became more of a person to lean on. You became more of a person that not only can your team lean on, but we could all lean on, right? You were always that, and that's why I called you the professional, because that's what you were. You were always that guy who, when you're on the court, you're going for the dub, and you had such good sportsmanship, and it was just, you were always a clean dude. Like, you just never wanted to take anything that you didn't earn. And I think off the court, anybody could talk to you. I mean, I told you this, right? Like, I thought today we're gonna probably, I could sit here with you for 4 hours, bro, because like I don't ever feel it when I'm talking. You're such a smooth talker. Just, you can keep going, and I'll listen to you all night. But what is your role, and how has your role evolved from the beginning to now?
Look, I learned this whole facet of leadership from a great human being.
Yeah.
A great volleyball player, but a great human being.
Yeah, 100%.
And it resonated throughout this team. That was the tone that was set by both Faisal and Ali.
Yeah.
If you touch the ball, if it's a bad lift, this and that, the hand goes up right away. I mean, how many times have we been going at it in tight games, Salman?
Yeah.
In playoffs or finals, and we've actually overruled the linesman.
Yes, I've seen it so many times.
We've made our own calls. We've done that for each other, right?
Yeah,
because I think we have a response. So I think that part of it is less about me and more about the team, and again, the value system.
Yeah.
I think as far as my role, it's like most players, if they stay with the team for a long period of time.
Yeah.
You start off really focused on what you can bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, your responsibility grows.
Yes.
It's scary for me to think in Orlando, I will be the longest tenured North player on the court.
Yes. Which is crazy.
It's scary for me to think about that.
Yeah,
because I feel like I'm 30, right? So like,
yeah.
But I think as far as off the court, as you mature as a human being, become a family man,
Yeah.
you know, your perspectives change.
Yeah.
And I think it's important not to check your skills at the door, whether it's when you get home or whether it's you get on the volleyball court. So I think there's a natural evolution for all of us. But as a Norths player, I'm a steward. Like all my teammates, we're stewards of Willowdale Jamatkana.
Yeah.
We're stewards of the Banji family.
Yeah, dude.
We're stewards of Faisal Banji's legacy.
I love that.
And we're stewards of this team.
Yeah.
You know, you've been talking, people like to talk legacy, and I'm not trying to steal your thunder here, but you like to talk legacy. North is different. If you ask Faisal about his legacy, and I think he was asked about his legacy, and in an interview in Calgary, and he talked about growing the game globally, flying a banner for traditional volleyball.
100%.
It's so much more than us as individuals.
It is.
You know, and when you think about the positivity that's come into volleyball, I mean, again, not to preempt you, but you know, I think about Edmonton and Tagaro and the Memorial.
Yes.
The way that I mean, the players in that tournament, some of them had never played against Tagaro.
I know. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Right. So you think about what's happening right now. And just for the record, in the second game at the Jubilee Games in Dubai, in the final against Canada, it was an all-Canadian final, as you know.
Yeah.
Yo, Tagaro made a run against us, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
The first game was tight for the first 10 minutes, and then we ran away with it.
Yeah.
But that second game, Tagaro scored the most points in that tournament of any team against us.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, but again, you think about that team and who he was up against, right? Like, again, I think we were just a really strong team.
Yes.
But Tagaro has been giving back, and that's why the outpouring of love. That Dallas tournament, my first tournament, after Saturday, I was kind of shook, right?
Yeah.
And processing. And he pulled me aside. He thought I was Umed Sharania's son.
Yeah.
Initially.
Yeah.
But the point was, he was there to talk to me and congratulate me and make me feel good about my game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we talk about, you know, legacies, what there's a few things I want to be remembered for. The first and foremost is my decisions were driven with the best interest of the team at heart.
Of course.
That's the first thing. And I never turned down an assignment, nor will I ever. Look, if I was particular about where I wanted to play on the court, I probably wouldn't have joined this team, because that's not how it works with North.
Exactly. 100%.
Right? I think the second thing is, we've talked a lot about growing volleyball, realizing and channeling Faisal's vision. So I think that's the second thing that you and I have talked about, but hopefully we can bring it together.
I think it could come together, real soon.
And the third thing is, look, I'm 45 years old.
Yeah.
And I'll continue to play as long as I can perform at this elite level.
I sure hope so. So
for me, you know, playing into my 50s is something that I'm striving for.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's
now if I can do it, great. Otherwise,
that's some Brady shit right there. Yeah, hell
otherwise I could really use the time to work on my golf game. But functionally, for me, those are the three things, right? Age doesn't define you. I think that's a really important thing that we need to change in traditional volleyball.
100%.
And then the two others that I mentioned.
The Faisal vision is a vision that we all share, and I think that the new generation especially, and I think that's why these like podcasts that I'm doing, I think they are all about positivity. They're all about taking that negative energy out, which was really stunting our growth for a long time. And if anybody hasn't noticed, if anybody hasn't seen, there's 17 teams coming to this tournament. Growth is abundant, even after the pandemic. And it's crazy because Stanmore was a success, and I hope Orlando's a success, and I hope future North tournaments are successes and all that stuff. But it's like we've come a long, long way. And Faisal would have sat here today and been like, yes, this is what I wanted. Like, this is what exactly it's what exactly I envisioned while I was coming up in the game, while he was dominating. I'm sure he thought, I want there to be thousands of people in a final watching. Like, we have those numbers now, right? I the Rob's interview that I did, the first one. I mean, I didn't even think 500 people will watch it. We're at 1,300 people. Like, are downloading and watching us talk about this game today because of people like Faisal. What what do you think about the landscape of volleyball now? And what is our duty to grow and keep the positivity of the game? What is it that we need to do to continue this?
So let me start by saying, Salman, when I consider the tournament in the UK,
Yes.
dude, it was like watching sports on TV.
Seriously, dude.
There was a control center.
It's crazy how
color
far we've
commentary.
come.
I'm sure I wasn't the only one texting you
No,
during
definitely
that.
not. It's crazy how far we've come, man.
But I think when we talk about the state of volleyball today,
Yeah.
I think it's been leadership from teams.
Mm-hmm.
I think about what you're doing, what you've committed yourself to, what you're using your celebrity for.
Yeah.
Right? What you sacrificed, because to do what you did during that tournament, I don't care who you are. It takes away from your game.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah.
You know, that's energy that you're expending.
Yeah.
Before, during, and after. So, you know, let me start by saying that I think we're in a very special place right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think Faisal would be smiling.
It would.
Although if he was around, let me just say that a little segue. If he was around, I think we'd all be better players.
100%.
Maybe a few less trophies for others, but
yeah.
at the end of the day,
yeah,
I think he was a catalyst to the evolution of the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
You asked me about the memorial and the notion that we split our team.
Yeah.
Well, the tournament was in Faisal's name.
Yeah.
So it should have embodied his ideology.
100%.
So we split so that Palace would bring a team.
Yes. Yes.
That was the only reason.
Yeah.
And so I think every team, every top team especially, has really demonstrated this through their actions.
Yeah.
And when I think about places where we can have tournaments today, I mean, Toronto, Orlando, New York, London, right? Like,
it's crazy.
Minnesota, like,
yeah.
You know, for me, whether we realize it or not, that's real infrastructure.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a kinsmanship amongst teams now.
Yeah.
That we actually behave.
Yes.
Off the court.
Yeah, dude. Like I think we've been around each other so much that it's almost like that friend you don't see for a while, but then when you see him, it's like you just carry on from where you left off. I love seeing you guys.
Yeah, and when the whistle blows, we go to war.
Yeah, and then when we get off, we're like, buddy, it was a great game. Yeah,
right? So, like, to me, I think infrastructure there. I think foundations are there. You look at the multimedia stuff that you're doing, that you're championing. I really think there's an opportunity here to all get on the same page.
Yeah.
Unified rules.
Yes.
Unified scoring systems.
Yes.
I think tracking. I think we could turn this game into a real intercontinental sport that's connected, where you have major tournaments.
Yes.
You're coordinating regional tournaments.
Yeah.
We're sharing best practices, perhaps a point system, a playoff tournament. There's so much we can do.
So much we can do.
And, in my opinion, that's what's missing in marketing this game to the next generation.
Yeah, I agree.
It would put us light years ahead of competing sports. Look outside of our community and look at what we're up against.
Yeah.
I'm an example. I would never have left organized sport to come play in tournaments where people are yelling and screaming and talking nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to mention the guy's hoping I don't do well so he can take my spot.
Take your spot, yeah.
So I think what's missing is the sharing of best practices.
Yeah.
I think if there could be a book on this,
Mhm.
how do you do this? What are the things that are happening in places like Orlando? What's RFLE doing with the youth out there?
Yeah.
What's New York doing? What's Minnesota doing? Like that being short, Stanmore, like they've got fitness programs. I mean,
Yes.
the game is coming to a point now where there's a lot to be proud of,
Yeah.
but we're not good at talking about it.
Yeah.
Right? We think they're secret weapons. And I think the reality is, and Faisal knew this better than anybody, I was blown away when he would actually explain to teams how he beat them.
Yeah.
This is what our plan was.
Yeah.
This is what we saw. This is why we did it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, 100%.
He would explain it. And because he understood something, that's knowledge. Knowledge is meant to share.
Exactly.
What makes a champion? Execution.
Yep.
Right? What makes a legacy? Precision.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right. So the sooner we can get everybody sort of up to speed on this stuff, the quicker this game gets better for all of us.
Yeah. 100%.
Right. None of us hold our positions hostage.
I agree.
We push others that we see potential in to come forward. And I think it's time now for your generation to make that mark. And I think that mark will transform this game and set us up for the next 25 years.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Every word of it.
Right. Something I really, sponsorship as an example.
Yeah.
Standardized packages for sponsors, right?
Yeah.
Maybe at some point, one entity taking in all sponsorship.
Yeah. Yeah.
And budgeting out to teams a calendarization process where we know where these events are happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, the sky's the limit here, but I think
with
the individuals now leading each of these clubs, it's all achievable.
It's definitely achievable. 1000%. I want to turn now to the future of Toronto North, the renaissance in a way, the return 3 years later. Tell me about Toronto North coming to Orlando. You don't have to spill any secrets if you don't want to.
No.
But tell me about the squad. Tell me about what to expect. I know you said you're gunning. I know you said you're coming for the trophy. I know you said you have bad intentions. But tell me what should the fans, what should people coming to watch expect from North this time around?
Oh, we're gonna be banging, bro. Like 2018 was a long time ago. Everybody's itching, man. We're itching. There's some challenges, right? Like we won't have Sully Munkle there.
Yeah.
And people think Sully Munkle is an emotional support. Dude, go back and watch 2018.
Yes.
I mean, the guy's taking points, right? So that to me is a tough loss.
Yeah.
Zishan is not there. I mean, he just got married, he started his own business, he's expanding. The timing doesn't work for him, and we get it, right? Life happens.
Of course.
And Z's one of those guys that he'll find something special at the most crucial point in the game.
Yeah.
He'll flip a ball over, he'll do something that will just give us energy.
Yeah.
So I think that's a tough one to miss. Amin's not coming, and again, Amin's been with this team so long. I mean, we're gonna miss having him on the court and off the court.
Yeah.
Abu can't make it; he's out of country, and Abu's another guy that he was on this team before I was.
Yeah.
And his volleyball journey actually started with North.
Yeah.
Monty's not going to be there, and Monty's joined this team, and we haven't had the pleasure of having him on the court and using him as the weapon he is in a tournament. Jamil, who I thought put himself into the elite,
so underrated,
of frontline players.
So underrated.
I mean, 2018, this guy's yelling goofy. Do you remember that?
Yes. I mean, his passion and his love and just everything that he embodies. It's exactly what the sport needs. Because if you watch Jama play, he plays like a kid. He plays volleyball like he's just playing for the first time. It's like he never takes anything for granted. And Jamil, I hope you're listening, and I know that you've sent me a great message of support. But I want you to know that you are extremely, extremely missed, underrated, loved, and I can't wait to see you back on the court.
And then Wahid, right? Like Wahid,
Oh yeah, up and coming, dude.
his development has been extraordinary.
Huge.
And I think for me anyway, I think it's going to be tough to be on the court without Ali as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, so that all said, we've got our back line from 2018.
Yeah.
We've got our front line from 2018 with a young and upcoming player from Ottawa taking Jamil's spot.
Okay.
I think the toughest thing for us were netties. You want to come to a tournament like this with 3, right? Yes.
Ideally, yeah.
We had 0 to start.
Wow.
But again, you talked about how the game is different today.
Yes.
How teams are friendlier, are more considerate.
Yeah, they want to help you out. Yeah.
I mean, one of our netties is coming to us from United Stars. I mean, Tarab was gracious enough to let that happen.
Yeah.
And to encourage that. Another one's coming from a Vancouver team, and we've got a third nettie who's coming from the Ottawa team. So
which is awesome. They want to see North there. So it's
look, I'm a realist. You know that, right?
Yeah.
If I didn't think that we were going to come there and be able to represent this logo, I'd tell you. I'm excited. We've had practices with these players, especially the netties. One of the netties actually lifted for Sammy and Abbas in Edmonton.
Yeah. I remember.
So, look, man, I've seen those balls come out of the net. I've seen Usman hit them. Look, we're ready to rumble, bro. I've seen Abbas. Dude, Abbas Gimji, I don't know what's happened to this guy.
Dude, like a renaissance for him too, bro. Rejuvenation.
Oh my
the guy's
God.
He's like 10 years younger, bro.
Dude, even in practice, I mean, playing against him, we're shook some days, right? Amil is Amil. Like, he's going to be that guy that anchors the whole squad. And you feed off of that consistency and that energy.
Yeah.
Like you said, I had some time off, time to focus and to get back into things. And
I love it.
I think Edmonton was a lot of fun for me, getting to play with Tagaro's squad.
Yeah.
And I felt like I felt really energized. I came home from that tournament, I felt like I hadn't played. So
that's awesome.
We're all in a good spot. I think we're all in a good spot.
I think on that Friday, when you put on that North jersey, it's all just it's just all gonna come back. Like, it's just that.
Inshallah, man.
Yeah, man. It's just that feeling, man. It's just you can't get rid of it. I mean, Ali not being there. I mean, that's like. I mean, he's one of the pillars. Obviously, you guys have led North throughout the years post Faisal. I mean, anybody thought about North it was Faisal and Ali. I mean, how much are you going to miss Ali? And it sucks that he's not going to be there, man.
Look, Faisal was a little brother. Ali was a little brother who became a dear friend.
Yeah.
Family. We traveled the world together.
Yeah.
We've celebrated together. We've cried together. We've really been there for each other. And that's all the personal stuff, right? Like, some of my fondest memories of this game are with Ali. And let's be honest, Faisal and Ali brought me to North.
Yeah.
It wasn't one or the other. It was both of them.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anybody who could ever replace Ali on this team. Like, forget about his ability at the net. I mean, that in and of itself is special.
Yeah.
He was lifting with Faisal when Faisal was short enough to go right under them.
Yeah. I remember that.
Right?
People used to talk about that all the time. Yeah.
And he was a counterbalance too. Like, people don't understand. I mean, greatness comes with a price.
Yeah.
And Ali was that rock that Faisal could lean on when that price was very taxing on it.
Yeah.
From a leadership, a strategic perspective, I mean, that's a hole. Like you can't, I don't think we can ever fill that hole.
Yeah.
So how much will he be missed? I think no matter what we do, we lose that advantage as a team.
Yeah. Why is Ali out of the game? Is he playing? We haven't heard about him. Like, what happened? Like, what transpired? Like, what is Ali still part of North?
Look, Ali and I went into business together. Most people knew that. You know, that business grew.
Yeah.
Both him and Rhea worked very, very hard. And that business grew into something that allowed us, afforded us the opportunity to go out and raise capital.
Yeah.
Build a board. And get on a trajectory, put the business on a trajectory to grow exponentially over time.
Right.
And, you know, these are high stakes situations. There's pressure, and it's a different type of pressure.
Yeah.
You're answerable to a board, you're answerable to shareholders.
Yeah.
And that pressure, it gets to everyone.
Yeah.
And that happened in our business. And Ali and I, unfortunately, lost our friendship over it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm hopeful that this game and this team will one day afford us the opportunity
100%
to mend that friendship.
That would be amazing.
But everybody needs time. Like this is not, you know, small little things. These are life-altering things.
Yeah.
Now, Ali and I, at the onset of our relationship in business, had made one solemn vow to one another.
Yeah.
That no matter what happened, we would remain equal.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of the fact that that's still the case. So when it comes to, you know, ownership and the rest of it, we're still equal in this business.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to go through what he went through.
Yeah.
Right, because that couldn't have been easy.
Yeah.
And so, you know, he's asked for space and time, and we're his brothers. Like brothers fight. It happens
all the time, man, all the time.
And some things aren't repairable. In my mind, that's not the case here.
Yeah.
And I hope in time Ali feels the same way, because, you know, I lost a great friend.
Yeah.
And North lost a leader.
100%, man. And I hope, man, if this game, what we talk about now, brotherhood, bringing people together, if this game could bring you guys together, if it's just even for North, for the name, for the prestige, for Faisal, like I really hope and pray that it works out and you guys come back together, man.
Yeah, and as do I.
We're done. Main interview done. Rapid fire starts.
Thank you.
And I have. It's going to be different. You know, I'm starting to change up these rapid fires, and again, it's getting a little too the same thing. So it's going to be a little bit more thinking. But you know what? Take your time. I mean, one word is great. Get sentence is fine. But at the end, I do have something special, and we'll get into that. International volleyball or traditional?
Today?
If you had a choice, international.
Traditional.
Wow. Okay. Getting a point off a spike, getting a point off a third ball. What's more enjoyable?
Did I hit the ball in the net, or am I hitting the third ball?
You're hitting the third ball.
I'll take it any way it comes, man.
Beggars can't be choosers.
Right.
Greatest championship in your career?
I think from a personal perspective.
Yeah.
Calgary.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, I love that. Fair enough. Playing with Faisal or playing against Faisal? What was more enjoyable?
Obviously playing with him, but I'll tell you, getting to go on the other side during practices.
Yeah. Amazing.
Man.
Yeah.
Man.
I would just look forward to that. If
It's
I
like
was
a
playing for
video
North, I
game.
would look forward. Yeah, seriously.
It's like a video game.
The hardest loss you had to take, North had to take, you had to take in your career.
Hardest loss.
Yeah.
Wow. I think they're all hard, but if one stands out, I think it was 2013, man.
Yeah,
like,
I think it's fair. I think it's fair to say that.
yeah, like I think that was one where we had to look deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I live by a famous quote: hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. If you had a choice in a player, would you want that player to be a hard worker or just be uber talented?
No, I think I go with the talent because I know what North does to players.
Yeah, true. Greatness. You've been around greatness your whole life, for the most part. Greatness comes in offense or defense?
Well, greatness is threading the needle, but I think defense
Is the foundation.
Has to be a priority, and I think you can be a weak team that can become opportunistic.
Yes.
If you can play defense. I think if you're an offensive team, the offense dries up very, very quickly when your players start breaking.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. The last one, and we'll end with this, and I want this to be an answer you think through and tell me entirely how you feel. And I know what you're going to answer, by the way. It's a loaded question. The GOAT. What is your initial thought of when I say the GOAT?
Well, look, I think there's a clear consensus, right? Like it's not just me. I mean, I don't think I'm going to see another player like Faisal in my lifetime. And I think off the court, the way he carried himself, the graciousness,
Yes,
that's what made him the greatest of all time.
yeah.
On the court, absolutely no doubt, but it's hard acknowledging someone being the greatest player of all time without understanding why they were the greatest player of all time.
100%.
And that's all off the court stuff, man. Like people have no idea.
No clue.
The work ethic. They have no idea the mental acuteness and the personal competitive nature. Unparalleled. I haven't met a player even outside of traditional volleyball that could manifest on the court on demand and still be one of the most humble, appreciative, thoughtful people. Look, you want to get under Faisal's skin, you know, players would challenge him.
Yeah.
You know, there's one play in particular that sticks out. At which point it kind of dawned on me. That, all right, there's never going to be a better player. It was a final against Joffrey's, and I think Husnain talked about this in your interview with him leading up to the UK. As I was preparing for this interview, I jumped online and watched some of the videos, and that was one of the ones I watched. Faisal hit a ball that opened Husnain's hand. Husnain was playing back left.
Yes.
You see his hands open. And the ball actually went behind him and hit the wall. When he did that, in that moment, I had never seen anything like it. I'd never seen anything since. Again, this is Hus we're talking about, right? This is the wall. Right? Like forever he was a wall. So yeah, I think it's not even a conversation. And like I said, that 0.1%, Salman, put me in a room with them.
I try my very best to make sure Faisal's legacy is never forgotten. And I think it's my duty, if I can, and if I have the ability to continue to let kids know that there was once a man who was the greatest of all time. And Kids today who never got a chance to see him and see videos of him, they go, was he really that good? Like, was he really that? Like, because they hear the stories, right? Is it true? And I'm like, dude, you have no freaking clue. Like, none. I've seen the ball hit the floor more times than it's hit someone's hands when Faisal hits it. Like, it is Faisal in that 10-year span of his career probably forgot more wins than people can remember in their entire life. Like, he is that, the epitome of greatness, unmatched, unparalleled. You said it. And I think for me, Faisal resonates in this game today when you look at all the back centers in volleyball. And I'll explain how. You take a piece of Turab and what Turab does well. You take a piece of Imran Walji and what Imran Walji does well. You take a piece of myself. You take a piece of Arif Ali. You take a piece of Ali Asghar Alou. You take a piece of any of those Stanmore guys. You take a piece of all of them and you combine it. And that's Faisal Banji. If I could put it any other way, that's Faisal.
Salman, you're an absolute class act. And
yeah.
you know, that's how I feel about you.
Yeah.
You know, when I talk about stewardship, you know, that's what you're doing here. It's an extraordinary sacrifice you're making for this game. And to hear you tell it, that you sort of understood it while it was happening,
yeah,
it is a real point of happiness for me personally, because, you know, our egos get in the way so much.
oh yeah, all the time.
And I think with Faisal, we were truly blessed.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it just ends there. Right?
Yeah.
We were just truly blessed.
We were. I will leave you with a few tidbits about Faisal. One, Faisal, people don't realize the amount of things he did behind the scenes for a lot of the youth. The messages back and forth between me and him, a lot of guys had messages back and forth, long Facebook messages, texts, WhatsApps, back and forth, when he was just teaching us the game through text. Like, it was amazing. Like, he never ignored you. Number one. Number two, he taught me so much about the game. I remember one story. I was having a lights out tournament in the arcades. Faisal and I in the cafeteria. You guys are in the finals. You guys had just won. Daras comes and Daras says, Faisal, look at this kid. He hits harder than you, bro. He's talking about me, right? So I'm blushing. I'm high on almighty. He's like, Daras is saying, I'm gonna bring a speedometer next time. And I'm gonna gauge your balls and see how fast, who's faster. And Faisal goes, Salman's faster. No doubt about it. But it's not about how hard you hit, it's about how smart you hit. And that has resonated with me throughout my career. And it wasn't about the jumping, the flashiness. It was just about just putting it in the right spot, using your mind. That's what it was. Faisal was able to get past all of the other teams that were in his way because he just used his mind, whether that was his presence, whether that was his stature, his aura, his whatever it was. And I think for us growing up, beating Jaffrey's was the goal in our lives growing up. Faisal, it seemed like he was doing that on a weekly basis, right? And it was almost like, holy shit, how is he doing this? And I remember one story. We're watching the finals, and Faisal and Munna are talking, and Munna had hit the ceiling, I think, 1,000 times. And Munna goes to Faisal at the end of the finals. He goes, what did you expect me to do? The ceiling is so low. And Faisal goes, why should the ceiling matter if you're hitting under the net? And that was like, you know what, man? That's why you're the GOAT, baby. Goated. Anyways, Fayez, I love you, brother. I really appreciate this time. I'm sorry, I know we went on for a while, but I really appreciate this. And I'm glad that we got it done. And thank you for taking the time.
It was a pleasure, man. And can't wait till, I mean, we're almost there. A few weeks away.
Yeah. Can't wait to see you.
Excited for Orlando.
Been 3 years.
And, man, either way, we got to put on a show, right? Like, that's what it comes down to. We've got to embody.
That's it.
The greatness,
positive, love, passion, brotherhood, all of it. I want to thank you. I know you're a busy man. Thank you so much. I know you're an early riser. You do all this gym stuff, and you're keeping shape and you run and all this stuff. But anyways, I'll see you soon. If everyone can, please remember Faisal with one Surah Fatiha for him and all marhumin. I can't wait to see you in a couple weeks, Fayaz. Give my love to all the North boys. I'll see you on the back nine, baby.
Yes, sir. Take care.
Good night, everyone, and I love you all.